Welcome to Behind the Curtain, Nashville's movers, shakers,
and tastemakers.
Brought to you by Cord Real Estate, your key to the heart of Nashville. I'm Steve Luther alongside my co-host Van Hoye.
Here we peel back the layers of Nashville's vibrant scene, sitting down with the innovators, creators, and leaders who shape our city. From music to business and everything in between, we dive into the journeys that have brought them to where they are today.
We're here to uncover the stories behind the success, the passion driving their pursuits, and why they've chosen Nashville as their stage. It's about the people who dream big, push boundaries, and make this city truly unique.
So join us as we explore the heart and soul of Nashville through the eyes of those who know it best.
Today, we're thrilled to welcome Vicki Lea, executive vision architect, creative director, producer, writer, host, and brand strategist. With a career spanning national television, innovative tech ventures, global travel entertainment, wellness brands, ministry development, and strategic consulting, Vicki is truly one of the most multidimensional creatives and business leaders in the industry. Her work has shaped programming and branding for networks like TNN, MTV, the WB, and CBS, and she's played a key role in launching the industry's first all-digital TV facility, a groundbreaking $100 million project. Vicki's produced and hosted beloved shows such as America's Treasures, Tennessee Treasures, Movie Monday, Five Nights of the Waltons, and segments for Entertainment Tonight, E! And Wheel of Fortune, earning recognition that includes an Emmy, an International Gold Medallion Award, and multiple Addies. As president and CCO of Blue Skies Entertainment and the creative force behind americastreasures.tv and VickiLea.com, she continues to build brands, develop content, and pioneer new creative ventures across media, travel, wellness, real estate, and digital innovation. Simply put, Vicki Lea doesn't just tell stories, she builds worlds, brands, and movements. Vicki, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I like that.
This is
she
an
builds
impressive
worlds.
resume here.
Yeah.
It? It's amazing.
Building worlds.
Thank you.
Well, let's start from the beginning. Where are you from? Where'd you go to school? How did you get involved in media and all these other things?
Okay. Well, I grew up in Lexington, Kentucky, and went to the University of Kentucky. Actually majored in interior design, which led me to realize that there was just some natural talents there that I wanted to utilize in television. And the way I sort of tested that out, even though I had job opportunities in interior design, I actually called a TV station and asked to come and work with them for about 4 months if they would take me on and let me see if I liked it. And they agreed, as long as I took it as a course so that it would be covered. And so I took one more semester of school just so it was covered. And I learned everything about TV as far as the technical side from that job. It was PM Magazine at the time, if anyone remembers the PM Magazine days.
I do.
And through that, after the 4 months were over, they did not want me to leave. They asked me to stay around and have a job, actually to pick up 2 jobs producing and to be office manager. And with the office manager, I really went on crews and handled audio and handled the scripts and made sure we were getting everything we needed for the show. And from there, it just continued on. And it was exactly what I was looking for. And the main thing that I learned from that is you just step out. And if there's something you really want to do, don't let people tell you it can't be done. Just jump out there and make your way. So when I was in the first year of working with PM Magazine, I was learning what they needed to see as far as getting national stories. They had a system that they taught everyone so that you could actually do the stories how they felt were best for audiences. And when I learned that way, I started getting national stories when other people that had been working there for 4 or 5 years had not gotten one yet. So they started saying, "What are you doing? How are you doing this?" I said, "I'm just doing what they're saying to do.
Right.
I'm following what they're, well, we are too." I said, "Well, I am too, but there's a difference." And I think, you can follow some of the techniques, et cetera, but you also sometimes have to just sort of look within on what interests you. Sure. And make sure that you pass on that to other people, because if you find it interesting, guess what? you will usually communicate it to others in an interesting way. And that has been the success that really has followed me throughout all the years. So that was my start.
I saw an interview with Mike Rowe, the guy that does the Dirty Job show. He said that very thing. It's like every show I make for me. Like I ask questions that interest me, and just that authenticity conveys. So, I mean, you've covered kind of a pretty large span over your career with television, brand strategy, and travel, entertainment, and tech ventures. What's been sort of the connecting thread between all of that?
Well, that's an interesting question to ask. The start, I think, really has been that television opened up doors for me to be able to go into any walk of life, anybody's life, and ask questions and get in under the hood of the car and see what's really going on. And I can ask questions and learn a lot of things, and then communicate it and relay it back out to audiences. And that alone started the big interest. And so once you have success, which, I was having success launching networks, putting together the brand messages to make those networks successful. My job usually was the buck stopped at my desk before it went on the air. And so for me to be successful in my job, I had to make sure everything was covered, that we had no mistakes that audiences could see. And from those skill sets that you really have to refine, and do them quickly, especially when it's in TV. You don't have years to work on a project before it goes on air. You literally have to learn how to make quick decisions, stay in budget, communicate to the financial team, of a network, but still deliver the creative. When I learned to do that, I found that other industries wanted to utilize that too. And so I started venturing into those other industries with top executives that needed to have that kind of input. Like, how do we communicate to investors, or how do we communicate our message of getting interest out? And because I had done that for so many different brands, and specifically inside networks, you pick shows and you pick movies and you create campaigns for people to watch those brands and those movies. And you have a year planned out, and then you have 15 to 20 teams of producing teams that go and put things on the air. And I had to oversee the time schedules and what those messages were, but it translates to a lot of the other industries. Sure. So I found that really fascinating, because I did not realize that it could be utilized so clearly as what it was. I think one additional aspect of that was that I grew up in a family where my father was in oil and gas, and we talked about ventures and deal making and portfolios and around the dinner table. And so it just was second nature to me to think in a broader stance. So when I started being invited into other companies to, let's say, be on a board or be in a core executive team to help launch something, whether it's software or a real estate brand or a series of medical videos, whatever that was, it was just another challenge for me that I found just as interesting. So I was able to start picking and choosing what things I was interested in, and not just take on anything that people, want to bring me in on. And there's a lot I've turned down just because it just didn't seem to be the right fit at that time,
Sure.
But it's been a nice journey. And to me, the journey never ends. There's always the next thing that is interesting to pursue and to see what happens from that.
Yeah. Talk to us about the $100 million all digital TV project. How did you get involved with that, and what did that kind of teach you about leading innovation?
Okay, that's a good question. I happened to already be in Nashville at the time, working with a UPN station, and in TV you move around a lot to increase your position and your salaries. I had chosen Nashville as a really good place where you could move around within the market and not necessarily have to move cities. And I'd already spent my time moving from Lexington to Fort Worth, and Fort Worth over to Dallas, and then back to this way with Nashville. So while I was here in town, happened to hear about something that was coming to town, didn't know a whole lot about it, but Roy Spear was the founder of Home Shopping Network, and he had just cashed out $400 million from his stock and was bringing $100 million here to Nashville to build out a major studio with a whole lot of companies in it. And one of those was a new network and a local station. And the president and the vice president of that facility had already moved here from Florida. He had already started funding it. We were in an office right across from the big Sam's Warehouse on Dickerson. And they were gutting that out and just building the whole facility. And at that time, we did not have digital in the nation. It was really the first digital network and facility that was even being created. So that was really fascinating. But I heard about it. And so I just made some calls and they brought me in. And it was sort of a funny story too, because I'm used to being asked to do a lot with a little. And that's just typical in television.
Sure.
In this case, because money was not the issue, I didn't really know if they were still going to ask me to do a lot with a little. And so there was already 2 people hired, which is the president and vice president. We were hiring lots of other people. They needed someone to help get them on the air with the vision of what we were going to look like. And of course, I have done a lot of things that started from scratch.
Sure.
That's sort of what I did. You take a clean slate and you create, and then you implement it and you get it on the air. They said, we need you to do this. I mean, we really want to let you go ahead and start and handle this. And I said, well, what are my guidelines? I mean, they said, well, you just have to get us on the air in 5 months. And I said, well, can I hire some people to do it?
Right,
Is it just me? Or, because I really did think they might just say, no, just one other person.
Oh, wow.
You've got to do it all. But they said, nope, you hire as many people as you need. We just need to get you on the air. We also don't have to have a budget. We'll whatever you're needing.
That's amazing.
We'll
That's the kind of people I like.
That's right.
And I didn't know that was an unusual request too, but okay, if I don't have to worry about that, that's fine.
Is that how it got to 100 million?
Well, those were all the fixed assets, the 100 million. And we had all the latest animation equipment. We were able to push the limits even on animation and TV. You usually limit the number of hours that you spend on certain animation packages. But in this case, we were able to just, again, whatever we envisioned, we just pushed the limit. It was really interesting. And again, the timeline was the really important part. We did meet that timeline. There was another really interesting story that, again, it just shows you how TV works and how new ventures work. We had engineers that for the first time had big digital databases that they were trying to figure out how to put spots into the computers and how to save everything. And of course, we're shooting and editing all this content to go on the air, because we have to be way in advance. Once we get it's 24/7 is what our timeline was. And they had told me, once you give us the content, we put them in the system, and then you can erase the tapes and you can use those again. You know where I'm going with that. And my team comes and says to me, what are we going to do? Are we going to erase those tapes? I said, nope. We're going to save all the tapes, because again, we're not worried about saving tape. So we're going to save every single bit.
Good.
And we'll it just is a backup.
That's right.
Well, about 2 weeks into us launching, they come running up to us and they said, oh my gosh, we've lost it all. Everything was wiped. we're so sorry. You're going to have to start from scratch. And I smiled and I said, well, guess what? We saved every piece of content we gave you. And they, we're like, so again, part of the fun is always thinking through and covering your bases so you're not in the issue of panic. But always being ahead, and that's been one of the things that I've enjoyed doing is sort of using a little bit more strategy and thinking it through on what.
Well, even with that, you're borrowing from your past experiences to know, hey, I need this. You could have, if you were new or just outside of your expertise, you might have just done what they told you.
You're right on that. Yes, so, that is correct.
Man, so the funding came from selling the Home Shopping Network. Mm-hmm. Man,
it did.
Now that's a job that I would like. Just peddling wares on camera. What's next? Let's talk about it.
Well, we were launching new shows that we were creating what the shows were going to be.
Right.
We were launching brand new looks and brand statements. We were really tailoring our station here after the WB launch because it was an affiliate.
Gotcha.
The plan was to be an affiliate for about 2 years and then to be a super station.
Cool.
So everything we were building was more network based. So I would end up on calls every week with the new president and the vice president from LA. That was launching the Warner Brothers network.
Very cool.
That's where that tie-in, because we were obviously
the WB.
We were the
signature
station, right? So, I had input on what we were going to do and the strategies, how we're going to get viewers, and there is a lot of strategy to some of those things.
Well, they were like creating culture left and right. Yes. The WB was. Yeah. That was amazing.
Correct.
That was back when there were only just a handful of channels to watch.
That's true. That's true.
Sure.
That was a long time ago.
We're
getting so old.
You need to stop right now.
Well, and there has been a lot of change in it through the years in the industry. A lot of acquisition.
That's right.
A lot of merging of networks, taking a viewership base and changing what the content's going to be that's delivered to that audience. And so sometimes people on the other side care about what their audience is doing. Other times they don't care. They just want that placement.
Right. Sure.
So it's been interesting to see and to be part of those conversations to see if you can discuss things in a way that will make a difference for decisions to go in other ways. And I've been able to do that, which has also been fun.
Very cool
to see those things.
You've been involved in so many projects over the years. What are some of your most memorable projects and why?
Wow.
Like what did you do for MTV?
Okay, so with MTV, MTV was a Viacom property, and TNN through a stock swap with CBS and Viacom, we ended up as TNN going under the umbrella of MTV.
I remember that,
was over all of the cable networks within that group. And so I was asked to fly to New York every Tuesday to meet with the founders of MTV.
Is that right?
Yes, there's 4 founders, but 3 would be in those meetings for strategy.
So they stuck it out.
Well, they did not have jobs. They made money off of the ownership.
Sure.
And they said, Vicki, we don't even have to work. I mean, we work through people like you to implement what we want to do. But I was being asked to come and brands and talk about the brands, talk about strategy. And then from that, some of those conversations ended up into the areas of what became then credits of mine because of the strategies. One of those, I was trying to challenge them because at the time they did a lot of Jackass shows.
Right.
Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And they were creating more Jackass shows.
Right.
And I was in a room of men and, I'm saying, can't you think about something else other than the Jackass shows? And they go like, what? And
Sure.
I said, well, it'd be fun for y'all to try some family programming. I mean, I really said,
Right.
They go, family programming? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Ozzy and Harriet shows?
That's awesome.
And I said,
they went all the way to that.
yeah, I said, not really. It'd be a current Ozzy show. They go, oh, yes. And that's how Ozzy Osbourne show was.
Is that right? I love it.
I wasn't really meaning it that way when it came out, but that's what ended up on the air.
I love it.
So that was one of the earlier reality shows that were created.
That's right.
At the time, we were creating reality shows because we were having writing strikes.
Okay.
And when you have writers that won't write and you still have to have shows, as they say, the show still goes on, has to go on. So we had to create shows without writers. And obviously, reality shows now have to have some writing and planning.
Sure, yeah.
But that was the thought then. So
there's a lot less reality today than there probably was when it started.
Correct. Well, think about the Ozzy show, Ozzy Osbourne. I mean, it was a little bit of a train wreck, if you remember. You just followed him around and anything happened and,
but it was fascinating to watch.
Fascinating because you entered someone else's life.
That's right.
To see what they were doing. So,
he was a pretty entertaining character.
He was. Yes. So that was my involvement with MTV. Cool. And then I would also talk about what we were going to do across the board. There's a lot of partnerships between the networks when they're all owned by the same company. And so you might not know it as a viewer as you're watching things, but we might have something that we're promoting on another network to make sure viewers come back over to us. And it just looks like everybody's talking about it. Or we might put a message on a talk show that we have on another network. So they're talking about something that we're doing over at this other network. So we
cross promotion stuff.
We would have those kind of
conspiracy.
So the way it works there is the founders being outside of the jobs.
Right.
We would make decisions at that level, and then they would go and take that information down and tell the presidents of the networks what we're going to do, which then would go on down to the middle management, which then goes on down to the people implementing. And it takes I noticed about 3 months to get through the whole hierarchy, and it was really interesting to hear your words and the decisions from the meetings come out and someone telling you down the line what's going to happen.
Right.
Not knowing that
you were a part of that conversation.
In those meetings,
Well, it sounds like something you could apply to any industry. I mean, that's kind of what you've tried to do with our company.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So that's good.
It is.
Mm-hmm. What about interesting people you've met over the years?
Oh, wow. A very interesting person to me was Arnold Schwarzenegger. I expected him to be very different than he was. I expected him to have a big ego because he's just, a person that had a huge presence.
Because he's Arnold.
And this was earlier in his career, back before he had accomplished all that we've known him to accomplish.
Sure.
And I was producing a show for USA Network that was a bodybuilding show. So I had to do a little research on Arnold. He was going to come and host, and we were going to do some interviews with him, etc. So I had to go meet him at the door of the big facility, and all the bodybuilders were on stage getting ready to perform. And when he walks in, and I'm like right next to him, we're walking across the stage to go to the interview room, everybody stops and they look, and it's quiet. And I look at Arnold and I said, does this bother you? Because it was very noticeable.
Right.
And he says, no, actually it doesn't. He said, everyone needs a mentor. I had a mentor, and I'm glad I can be a mentor to others.
That's good.
And that was a really good answer.
Right.
I was really impressed. So we go on to the interview room, and we, put him in his chair, and we're all set up. And he was so funny because he says, in his accent, turn the monitor around. Let me see myself.
Sure.
And I said, because no one asked that. I said, turn the monitor around. He goes, yeah, let me just see myself.
Right.
And so we turned it around. He looks like he's looking in the mirror,
Yeah.
And he says, okay, I'm good. And so we, start on, and he literally, said that the way he accomplishes things is to have the vision of what it is and to believe in it. And he talked about the success principles of how to make that happen. And at that time, he had not yet been the big movie star.
Mm-hmm.
He had not been the governor of California. He talked about anticipating those things and wanting those things in his future, which was really interesting.
Wow.
And another just memorable quote that he had with a story was about how his very first movie role was the Hercules movie, where they did not want him to speak. And so he said, and the agent kept saying, Arnold, if you're going to get work, you have to take away your accent. You cannot speak like that. And he says, I will only be second best at being somebody else, but I'll be first best at being me.
He knew himself.
So I'm going to keep my accent. Now, what is it we know about him now?
That's right.
His accent.
That's right.
He's so unique because of that accent. But now he understood who he was.
Right.
And he was strong enough to say, just bear with me. We're going to get through this. It's not going to bother me. And it didn't. I mean, he literally knew if he just pressed in, he would get to where he needed to go.
Sounds like he was willing to give up a few opportunities as well.
Yes.
So that he could stay true to his.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yes. And let other people sort of learn.
Right.
And him just stay.
We can just apply all kinds of stuff today.
Oh, of course.
Man.
Well, and that's another interesting aspect of television. A lot of times you're working with people and making them famous. See, a lot of the work that I had to do, I would pick a personality and we had to promote them in a way that viewers would want to watch them.
Right.
So in some cases, it might be a news station where you had news anchors, et cetera, and we had issues that you would have to work around. Like at one job was WHAS TV in Louisville, Kentucky. We had a major anchor that had been there for many, many, many years named Jim. And people probably don't know who Jim is, so I can say his name. And we had an issue where he was going to be gone for a while. He had decided that he wanted double pay and he wanted to have less hours. And he was the reason why everybody watched. You do surveys and studies and you find out what people think. And our newscast was him. And we were the number one station.
And he knew it.
And he knew it. And so we had to talk about what are we going to do.
Right.
So we would have all these meetings and spend the whole day. All these people would come in, full room, stacks of paper to talk about the problems. And then at the end of the day, they would turn around and say, okay, Vicki, go solve it. I'm thinking, could we have talked about the solving it while we were meeting instead of talking the whole day about the problem? But I said, okay. It's so in that case, just to give you an example of how campaigns can work, we set out to develop a campaign that would last over the course of a year while he's gone quite a bit. I had a 3-stage campaign where we started talking about teamwork, and news is really teamwork because we didn't have any of the main personalities that we had put up front in front of everybody. So it was about teamwork and all the reporters and everybody doing things. And then the next phase was we're highlighting a few people now, and we're going to talk about their families, and you're going to get to know them. And now we're going to put them up, to anchor some shows so that you sort of feel like you're getting on that journey with them. And then we have the ones that have been chosen as the best of the best. And now you've watched and now you're here.
You're invested.
And now we've gone the next level of storytelling about their lives. Well, at the end of the year, when we do another survey, now our ratings have just gone up from there. We were at like a 25 rating and we went to like a 35 share.
Wow.
And that really is unheard of. And so when they surveyed people, no one had even known Jim had left. Because what you do a lot of times is you say, look over here while that's occurring over there.
Right.
You just don't point out over there what's occurring that Jim's gone. You
That's
just
right.
don't bring that. So we were able to create identities for people and brands that people like by the strengths in the people that are ones that would be endearing and, things that people would love to see in people. So those are some of the aspects of the business that you do. And then, of course, you obviously want to hide anything that's a weakness, right?
Of course.
You don't want to really have that out. Now,
that's why we stage houses.
That's right.
Right. Now, it's a little bit different with some of the social media now. You might see a little bit more of the trend.
Right.
Sometimes people go and tell their own things that they shouldn't be out there telling. You're like, we tried to cover you. Don't go saying that. But it is a different day, and people do want, authentic. But that's part of the brand building that goes on behind the scenes.
Man,
I would imagine you've dealt with some pretty large egos in television over the years.
Yes. And it really doesn't bother me. I mean, because it comes with the territory, but behind those big egos, a lot of times there's a little fearful person that needs to say and have you say, you're doing a good job. I mean, they would come. So with me being in charge of departments, I would also at times pick certain projects where I'd go and produce and direct and write. And usually, and again, there were projects I wanted to do. There were projects that I wanted to work with the people we were hiring. We would hire actors. The actors are people that you do hire. They don't write. They for themselves. They don't pay for the budget. They literally are hired to do what you're asking them to do. I mean, and that's their job. A lot of people think that they're the decision makers because that's all you see. You see them in front of. But because of that role, they do have some delicate, feelings about things, and you constantly have to reassure them. And I understand, because they just need to know it's okay. They would say things like, "Am I doing okay? I mean, you're good, right?"
Creatives need a little affirmation once in a while.
Really
do.
He's giving me a hard time right now without anyone knowing it. He says I don't compliment his work enough.
Well,
I didn't say that. I just said creatives need a little affirmation once in a while.
It is part of
you do wonderful work, Van.
Thank you.
It is.
Thank you for noticing.
That's good.
Do you find that sometimes people would have an ego that was maybe a little bit too big for the draw that they were bringing, and
it probably gets pushed back real fast if they're not justifying the draw.
Yes, and I probably will not mention their name, but I'll say they were from the Dallas TV show era.
I love it.
That's all I'll say on that one. So
Van loved that show.
Very good.
Absolutely.
It's interesting to see.
What was there not to love?
Now I will.
You've been to South Fork, right?
Yes, I have. I rode in a limo down the driveway. We hosted 100,000 people in the lawn for a show. Oh yeah. Back in the day.
That's good.
It was good. I was like, if only my mother could see me now. So
I'm trying to figure out which one it could have been, because there were so many I could easily picture.
Well, I will tell you, Larry Hagman would always, when we would call him to hire him for something with TNN, he would always say, "Have you called Linda?" Or "Have you called?" He'd name other people.
Right.
Have you called them?
Was he a classy guy?
Because he didn't always want to take the limelight. Yeah, he wanted to share.
I always wondered if he was a classy guy.
It was Joan.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
No, I'm kidding.
So that I appreciated that, even though we would always rep him.
Right.
On some, and he'd say, "Try them first, and if they won't, then come back and ask me."
I love it.
So he really did that well.
That's good.
And you like seeing that. I did. I liked seeing when people would really be classy about things.
Well, and inclusive as well.
And
it's
inclusive.
Pretty extraordinary.
And willing to take a back seat.
Right.
They didn't have to.
Right.
because obviously he already had a lot of accolades.
Of course.
And could have easily stayed in that.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us a little bit about America's Treasures.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of built that into a full ecosystem with all kinds of cross promotion.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that.
And that actually started back in the early 90s. Being in TV and seeing the interest, and of course, coming from PM Magazine, I saw how people love to hear stories.
Mm-hmm.
And in the America's Treasures arena, telling stories about people, places, and things with a trivia twist, what seemed to be a fascinating hook and way to communicate and share some of those stories, as well as get to people to participate. So I started out by having a board game, and I know that sounds like an odd thing to start with, but it was my way to beta test that concept. And at the time, there was a game company out of California that was placing games, or at least licensing their game to all the different places across the nation, different states or different cities. And I picked doing a Trivia Louisville game, which again was about trivia. And so my company wrote all the questions. We designed the board game, which it was my design, hiring people to implement it
Right.
for me. And I actually went into production. I hired a game manufacturing company to take care of the manufacturing. I did the distribution deals, had a big deal with Kroger, and then also had all the advertising campaigns on. We had magazine ads and radio ads and
Sure.
TV ads to promote the whole thing. So when we launched, we were out in the market to be able to really see how successful that was, and it was well received. And so from there, that's when we knew to go ahead to the next steps, which were the stories, because it's a little bit more expensive when you get into the television show arena. Television shows are pretty expensive when you're going through that. But again, people just really wanted to see it in all facets. So from the shows, we then went into the magazine, and I found there was a whole new audience in the magazine side, because being in TV, we don't do a lot of the magazine side, and magazine people don't do a lot of the television side.
Interesting.
So with the magazines, which we distributed the Tennessee Treasures magazines all across the state, and mainly through welcome centers, they would disappear within 2 weeks.
Wow.
We had planned on them being there for at least 2 months. And people would actually come in and, are the magazines here yet? And people would go to their work, and after reading stories, and they would talk about, the water cooler effect.
Right.
They would be telling the stories that they had just read that are also connected to the show, but it reached a new audience, because print is just, you see it. Right?
That's right.
You hold it and carry it around. So that was a really fascinating aspect to me, to see, the connection. And then, of course, in the web component, where it can be a little bit more interactive, and you can have more of the immediate changes with, advertisers or with trips. And we did start having people call for, can you give us a trip schedule, set up a travel
Nice.
schedule for us to go and visit some of these places. I mean, it was just ongoing, just all the kinds of things, and buying merchandise that are connected to the places. Of
course.
And so, like in our magazines, we would even have treasure maps, so that you might go to a place and visit, and then it would have trivia at the bottom of the treasure map, and you check off that you've done those things, seen those things, know the answers, and someone then at that facility or that location will sign that treasure map, and it's a collectible.
How fun.
For you to know that you've had that journey
through
the year of collecting treasure maps. So it's just been a very interactive kind of thing. And of course, it's always evolving, because even out of those stories, there are movies that can easily be finished out that will be part of the future. So
that's exciting.
Were there any places or stories in particular that were like really memorable for you?
There were, yes, quite a bit. There's two that probably are worth sharing in a short form. One is the Alvin York story, and another one is the miniature golf story that's connected to Chattanooga and Ruby Falls. So I'll tell you the Alvin York story first. He was the very first all decorated soldier of World War I. And so, in the most decorated. And there's a whole movie about him.
Sergeant York.
Yeah. Right.
And
Great
so
movie.
when we went to do the story, we met family members who know more about him, obviously, than anybody's heard. And I always ask, is there anything that maybe you want to share that no one's ever asked or it's really important to you? And, we would get a whole treasure chest of things that would be shown. Well, while I was there, I found out that the York Institute was going to be torn down. The York Institute was what he had asked, instead of getting paid and decorated as all the things that they were wanting to do. He says, I would prefer that you take care of schooling for the Appalachian kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so it was the very first school funded, like that, an institute funded by the state, any state. And Tennessee had stepped up to do that as an honor to him. Well, Tennessee had at that time, evidently the budget for renovating the building or keeping it maintained was a struggle, and they really didn't know what to do at all. They were stuck. And I said, well, how long do you have? They said, we have 60 days. 60 days.
Wow.
But see, I found out about those things because I was doing the story. It was in the community. I'm talking to the people.
Right.
I was finding out, and they just bring it up. Oh, by the way. And I said, well, can I help solve it? Would you mind if I get involved? Well, yes, if you would. I said, here's what I'd like for you to do. Is to give me some tools here. If you put me on the board of your foundation so that I have something that I can say that I'm connected to you all to go and make calls. And they said, okay. So I got that letter. I told them what I was going to do. I was going to call some businessmen in Nashville to see if we could get at least a core team of people that wanted to help preserve it. And then I said, the third thing is, if I can get a yes, let's go and have some attorneys go and make a presentation to the governor and say, we're going to take that off your hands. And we now can make sure we preserve it, but you don't have to have the responsibility anymore. Because to them, they weren't not going to solve it. They literally had already given notice to demolish. So we were effectively able to do that and preserve the building.
Wow.
And so that, I just love it when a story that is really interesting that people can watch then becomes an action after story that becomes news. Those are pretty interesting. The Chattanooga Ruby Falls story, we were there talking about, what they've got. And again, I asked that question at the end, typically, of, is there anything that maybe you've never shared with anybody before that you think is worth sharing? And he says, well, I think, Uncle Carter said he invented miniature golf. Would that be one of them?
How fun is that?
And I stopped and I said, yes. Can you tell me more? He says, I really don't know the story, but I can tell you that you can find it. We went on a treasure hunt.
Wow.
Right there, building to building to building. They took us around, and in the last building in the bottom corner in the basement was the story of miniature golf.
My
all
goodness.
there that had been put together for a presentation that had been long lost for years. And so we ended up doing that story. And when that came out, Forbes magazine called us and said, how did you find this? No one's ever heard of this. And I said, well, the family is. And so it became a brand new story for everyone that was made in another place.
When was this story?
Well, let's see. It was when in our first season, I believe, of Tennessee Treasures. So, but the miniature golf story occurred back in the 30s.
Isn't that cool?
It was the competitor for movies at the time.
Is that right?
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we got a new one here. Pop something.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods thing down in Antioch.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be amazing.
I can't think of what it's called. But yeah.
I just saw that on the news.
It's going to be big or is big.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So,
And so I don't know if you all remember the very first miniature golf names that were around, but it was Tom Thumb Golf. Do you remember
really?
that?
I just remember putt putt.
Yeah, I don't
It was
really.
it was a licensed
Okay.
golf course, and for a quarter, you could either go
Is that
golfing,
right?
a miniature golf, or you could go a quarter to the movies.
Oh,
So at the time, in all the actors' contracts, they prohibited anyone from going to
no way.
and having a picture because they thought it was
No
leading
way.
people away from the movies.
How funny is that?
That's pretty crazy.
There's just really great stories if you go
Yeah.
dig.
Yeah.
And see, most of the people that we would talk to, they say no one's ever even asked us these questions. No one even cares.
Yeah.
But when you start to find out what's there, people do care.
Right.
And they go to want to visit.
Well, stories are great.
They are. And they're going to be lost if we don't capture them.
That's right.
And someone has to go ask. Because the people that know those stories, they're hidden away. And if it's not the person you talk to, they'll know somebody else.
That's right.
That knows somebody else. And that's how you find them. So most of the stories we have done, they have been ones we have found. They're not written somewhere else. They're not even indicated anywhere. We just start with a lead, and then we go and uncover things that you've never heard before, which is part of the fun.
Right.
It really is a treasure hunt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You've been involved in brand building across quite a few different industries.
Mm-hmm.
I actually Van was music industry prior to this, and a lot of what he did was image consultation. So it took me a little while, but I was convincing him, like, you have this skill set that we could easily apply to real estate.
I thought he'd lost his mind.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I managed bands, put together shows, festivals.
But I think branding is really, it's about building community.
Which I like.
What do you see like across industries? What do people typically miss about creating that emotional connection with people?
Simplicity. They want to make it too complicated. Going back to the MTV, I want my MTV brand.
Right.
Okay, so one of the founders was the one that came up with that. And it's so simple that it says everything. And so that became the top of our branding industry, is if you can be like the MTV guys that came up with that brilliant strategy, you have reached the top. I mean, that's what everyone talked about. So it's just getting to the heart of it with less words, to where everyone knows what you mean without saying a lot of words. So, and it's hard. You have to almost go deep to come back to find what is it that shines, that rises above, that just says it all.
That's good.
Where do you think entertainment and branding and tech and everything else is headed? What's the next?
Because it's like the Wild Wild West right now. I mean, look, we're here doing something, whatever this is.
Yeah. Where's content headed in the next 10 years?
Well, as you can see, it's getting more and more in the hands of individuals where they have a chance, instead of it going through just all the standard sources where someone had to choose you, right? That's been the hardest part, I think, for those people that were the choosers to lose control of that aspect. But then it also has allowed so many people to rise that maybe couldn't have even had the conversations, or couldn't have even had a door open. So the ones that literally are themselves can just be authentic, be unique, but again, not fake unique, just be yourself.
Right.
Because there's a lot of personality that we've not ever been able to experience because we still had to have that certain culture. Right. For television, for cable, you had to have still something that was appealing. And there's a lot of things that might not be appealing for everybody, but they're still interesting. Right. Just like we were talking about the Ozzy Osbourne. Yeah. So now people have a chance. So where is it going? It's going to the place where you even see some of the influencers being able to, just even recently being chosen for Dancing with the Stars, and you see them featuring TikTok night. So it's going to be a blend of audience participation with the entertainment. It can't just be us watching anymore. And that's been part of what I have seen happening for at least 20 years. That to me, that's been really important. One of the aspects that I had even tried out when I was with TNN at the start of the web, we didn't have many people participating in that a lot. We had chat rooms going on while we were watching a movie and we're doing a special theme. We would invite people in the chat room to talk about and just share watching the movie together. That was before we did that thing that we do now. Huh. But people loved it because they want to be a part of something and participate. So it's going to continue to go that way. And if people aren't authentic, I think now viewers pick up faster on it. You can't fool people as much anymore. They really want to see the real people. And
my wife came home with a People magazine last night, and I'm thumbing through it, and there's a whole section on influencers, and I think the Met Gala or something. I don't know. And I was like, what is happening? You have influencers now.
It is.
Influencing everything.
It is. Now, the one thing I have seen that influencers don't yet have a handle on, some of them, is they go in and make demands on, say, a restaurant or whatever. Don't you know who I am?
Right.
And give me everything for free or whatever.
Right.
Well, that might happen naturally, but it is not. In TV, we never
Sure.
did that to people. They would do that naturally if they wanted to do that, and they open up those doors, but you never have to push yourself.
Yeah, you don't ask.
That's maybe hopefully one of the things that influencers will start to learn, that it's just going to happen naturally and you don't have to really be demanding, because that will be short-lived. People will eventually find out that you're not authentic in what you're saying. So it'll come back around. But again, all of these different tools that are still bring back that community, that sharing, that participating. Let me be entertained. Let me then connect with people. Let me see you in different forums, whether it's Instagram or let me see you on TikTok. And all of them have a different presentation. But that's part of that user experience. So.
We've talked, Van and I have had this conversation about the music industry a few times, about how much it's changed, where, used to be, you had to find a label and they had these artist development programs, and there was a lot of money put behind stuff. And that whole game has changed. Now you've got to sort of come to them with a following already.
That's right.
And so if you don't understand that game, there's pros and cons to doing it both ways, right? And I'm sure that's bleeding into other parts of entertainment. And now we've got AI. We've got AI artists that are making the Billboard charts, and there's an AI actor that was I think supposedly got representation from one of the agencies.
Unbelievable.
There's so much concern about that, but do you think? Are you going to get that same level of connection?
Let it play out, because people know when there's a real person and when it's just an AI. It's interesting right now, so it's short lived, and it's intriguing, right?
Right.
You're fascinated, and it seems like an easy way, but again, it won't be long term, because people follow and connect with people that have real stories. So I know, for instance, there's a new AI feature that's in, I guess, a beta test with the music side of YouTube. And they have hosts that are AI. And I opted in thinking, okay, let me hear. But they say things as if they're real people. And like I remember when I heard that,
right.
There are AI, and I don't like it. I liked it for a day.
Yeah.
And then I don't want it anymore.
It was off.
Because it's not a person. And the words that they're using, even if they got them better, I already know in my every essence of what they're talking about that they don't have a real story. They don't have a real life. And you just want to know that someone's living the human experience. That's talking to you. And so that's always going to be missing. And AI cannot ever have that. Yeah. So they can tell the stories of somebody else, or someone can write, or they can write a fictional story, but we still know
But there'll be a place for all of it.
There will.
Just like, now the hottest thing is LPs, right? Getting vinyl.
Yeah.
Kids are collecting vinyl because there's a spirit there that's just isn't captured.
Mm-hmm. And the key is maybe using the tools to pull it together in a way that brings it into a new phase. So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's exciting.
You started Blue Skies Entertainment over 20 years ago. You've been in the business a long time. What does it take to stay relevant, to stay inspired as the industry changes over decades?
Always look to see what's going on, but also envision what you would like to see with change and innovation, and be ahead of the game. Always be thinking ahead of what would be a new experience and what would people really want to see that they're not seeing. And I've not ever been very good at following other people. I've always been one that I just see way ahead on where people are now and what they're needing. So I think and keep an open mind. Never think you have all the answers, because things are changing. Right. So always be able to move forward with new things. And just a lot of people ask me, how do they not have an opinion about, how can they not have an opinion? Because sometimes when they hear something, they have a strong opinion, like I don't like that, or I do like that. And I try to say, why do you have to have an opinion at all until you know more about that? Just take it in. Just let it be something that you experience, and let there be more pieces, and let it evolve. And that helps. If you just have an open mind, it helps to see the bigger picture and to be able to have some ideas of what might be beneficial for people as things constantly change.
Sounds like she stays on the sunny side. I mean, she called her company Blue Sky. Nothing but blue sky.
That's right.
Well, you've won an Emmy. You've won an International Gold Medallion Award, Addies. What accomplishment are you most proud of in life?
Well,
do tell.
It's interesting because you can get awards, but the awards seem to mean more to other people than they do to you. I mean, they're important.
Like credibility wise?
Well, yes, I guess. I mean, it's just an award. You did the work, and the work is the value. Right. And it's nice that I guess there's an award there, because someone says, oh, you got an award. But it was the work that mattered. And so I think I'll tell you a story about one of the Addies that I had. I had a client that came in that wanted to he had a gun shop. This is back in Kentucky. He had a gun shop, and he wanted to have commercials for at least one main commercial for his gun shop. Well, now you can already see the problem with that. Guns on TV, like, what are we going to do? Like, this has got and I asked him, what's your goal? And you know what his answer was?
What's that?
I want to win an award.
Oh, wow.
Oh, really?
Well, okay.
Oh, okay. I said, why do you want to win an award? He says, well, my buddy won an award.
How
and
funny.
I want to be able to say that I did a commercial and I won an award. Okay. So in other words, you want me to write a spot that will win you an award.
I love it.
So
at least he knew what he wanted.
Yeah. So I wrote 3 spots.
Right.
All different types. Pitched them to him. He says, I want all 3. So I said, okay. But one of them, I was trying to think, how do you take the harshness of guns, the fear of guns, and bring it home, right? And so one of the spots, and the one that won the award, was a special moment, a coming of age moment between a father and a son, where he was showing him the safety of guns at a special morning time with fog, and they're going out for that special time. And it was that we captured the moment in the spot, but then it was, remember, this is where you can have this moment, right? In this gun shop. And that's the one that won the award. So and then another one that I had done in that pitch was a saloon, where we went back to the Western days. So, but the really if you notice, the ones that really hit the mark are the ones that have the emotion in them.
That's good.
So that probably, and that was my first real award that way in TV. And again, I was just writing, but so we did accomplish what he wanted.
I love it.
Any big projects coming up? What are you working on next?
There are a lot. They're all in a stage where they really we can't share a lot about them. But there are.
That's the ones we want to hear about.
Yeah, I know. There's things in Africa. There's projects in crypto and in digital banking. Inventions that are going to be launched.
Wow.
Trying to think of. There's just. We've got a superhero series that has a lot of legs to it that's getting ready to launch as well. But I like to talk about things after they've launched. And before.
A true promoter.
Do you have people approach you about projects?
Yes, a lot. And obviously you just can't take them on, all of them.
Sure.
So it really, there's a lot of factors involved on whether or not a project is one that I participate in or my companies participate in.
Mm-hmm.
And one is it something that's of interest? Is it forward moving? Is it maybe innovative? And we've not seen this before. And then it's also who else is already a part of it. Have you put together some things? Are you relying on us to put all that together? Because I've gotten away from taking on other people's vision for something and doing the work, because I do know how to package something. I know how to put together investor proposals and writing business plans and things, but I tend to not really do that as much unless they've done a lot of their work themselves. Because if I'm going to participate with somebody else, they've still got to do their part on that side.
Of course.
Because I've got plenty of what we have that would keep us busy for 100 years. So I have people wanting to come and do new networks, and they're working on their funding. And again, that's sort of the thing. Everybody has a network or a channel, as they call it, which threw me a little bit. I'll be honest. You know, when I'm used to the real channels and the real networks where there's a lot of money in it, when someone comes and says they want to launch a channel or a network, I'm thinking the $100 million one.
Right.
And they're thinking, I'm just thinking, and there's nothing wrong with it, but I'm thinking that we start out with a little YouTube channel with 5 people, and that's okay. But what's your end game, And so I might be thinking, when they were anticipating that, I'm thinking, okay, we need these teams, we need these budgets, and that's not where they want to go. So I've been able, one of the things I've needed to sit back and watch is, where's the industry going, and how are we broadening, and how do we accept all of these different verbiage that means something a little bit differently than what we've met in the past. And so now I think it's sort of settled in. So it's okay. Like we say, things are being filmed when they're really videotaped. In my world, we don't film as movies, and there's just a lot of different terminology. But now I think everybody's sort of on the same page. So.
Well, I'll pick your brain off air about a little project I've got.
Here we go.
One of those hidden ones.
That's it.
But if anyone wants to get a hold of you guys, what's the best place to find you?
Well, I would actually recommend that the very first place would just be to go to the main site where all of our activities are mainly updated there. It's VickiLea.com.
And Lee is L-E-A.
L-E-A. And Vicki's with an I.
Yeah. V-I-C-K-I.
So VickiLea.com. And that's where we spin off to the other websites and other places where we have projects going on.
Cool.
So
awesome.
I appreciate you asking that. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, Vicki, it's been a pleasure.
Well,
Absolutely.
Thank you. Enjoyed meeting you.
Yes.
And with that, we will see you guys next time. Well, that's a wrap on today's episode of Behind the Curtain, Nashville's Movers, Shakers,
And Tastemakers.
We hope you've been inspired by the stories of passion, perseverance, and innovation right here in Nashville.
A big thank you to our guests for sharing their journeys, and to you, our listeners, for joining us. And of course, our gratitude to Cord Real Estate for making this conversation possible.
Don't forget to follow or subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform.
Thank us?
Yes, you did.
Oh, I guess I did. Well, thank us. Okay.
Like I was saying.
Oh, yeah.
Don't forget to follow or subscribe on your favorite platform to catch every episode, and hit that notification bell. We've got plenty more fascinating guests lined up, ready to share their insights and inspirations.
And we love hearing from you, so reach out to us with your thoughts, questions, or suggestions for who you'd like to hear from next.
Until next time, keep chasing your dreams and making your mark in Nashville.
Oh my goodness.
Remember,
Am I talking to Casey
it's the
Kasem?
people behind the scenes that make the city shine.